Hi guys. Okay, so today Jimmy and I are going to be making some chicken noodle soup. So we are going to show you guys how to do that. It's actually pretty easy. We're going to be using for our vegetables, we're going to be using celery and carrots that are fresh, and we're going to chop them up. But if that is not available to you, you can always use a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. So that is a cheaper, easier option. So you don't have to do the cutting and stuff. So Jimmy got the celery washed up and he's ready to start chopping it. So we're gonna let him do that. We have 3 stalks of celery and we're gonna also do 2 carrots along with that. So let's check Jimmy's knife skills and make sure he's being safe. I don't know, those don't look like even cuts to me.
They need to be even?
They should be.
How fat do they need to be?
That's good. This one's too big. Stop cutting for a minute.
Right here?
Yeah, that's too big. They have to cook the right way. All right, as you can see, he needs some work with his knife skills. What is he doing wrong with his hand?
Nothing.
I'm not going to tell you. This is going to be a question you're going to have to answer.
I'm not holding the knife right.
Okay, so Jimmy's mended his ways with the way he's cutting. So we're going to go ahead and put the celery in the pot, or in the pan, I mean, the bowl.
There's no pan.
The bowl. We're going to get it out of the way, and then Jimmy's going to be slicing up the carrots nice and thin. You need to make sure you do it pretty thin, otherwise they're not going to cook right. They're going to be hard in your soup. Oh, you want to make sure you cut your ends off.
Like that?
Yeah, cut both ends off. And then if you want to make it easier so it doesn't roll around on you, you can cut it in half. So remember how we did the tunnel method in class? You hold on to your carrot, and you just get the edge of your knife in there, take your hand away, and then it should not slide around like that. Okay? So then you can just make slices from there. All right, let's see how Jimmy does. See if you can do the tunnel method. There you go. Take your hand away. That's fine. There you go. All right, now we have a flat side to work with. Okay, so this is pretty good. That's about the size you want. You don't want it any thicker than that. So we have 3 whole carrots that we peeled. We cut the ends off of. Jimmy's slicing them up. And then we're going to be cutting up an onion and a couple cloves of garlic. And we're going to let them saute in our pot with some oil for a couple minutes, about 5 minutes until they get soft. And then we're going to add the rest of our vegetables in there and we will continue this. Okay, so we have our, this is actually a sweet onion. The recipe calls for a yellow onion, but this is what we have, so this is what we're using. I'm going to show you guys how to peel this, if you don't remember from the other video earlier in the year. So cut off your ends, both ends, and then it makes it easier to peel the skin off of the onion. You want to make sure you have all the skin off your cutting board because you don't want that to end up in your soup. All right, and then I'm going to cut this in half because that's just going to make it even easier to get the skin off. So anything that's like kind of bumpy looking, you want to get rid of that. Dry and bumpy looking. And then I'm going to cut it into slices and then just turn it and cut it the other way. Well, that's too many.
You have to peel these?
Yep, but we're going to cut the ends off first. So it's kind of important to make sure you cut your onion kind of small. Nobody wants a big, huge chunk of onion. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you guys is the garlic. I've never showed you that before, so if you don't do it right, sometimes it's hard. Like, it's kind of hard to peel the skin off the garlic, unless you do it this way. Okay, so what I do is I usually cut this end off. So this is the end that was attached to the middle part of the garlic. And then I smash it with my knife. So this is already starting to take some of the peel off. All right, then I'm just going to lay my garlic clove down and I'm going to hold my knife like this flat over the garlic and just hit it with my hand. Notice the blade is pointed away from me. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. The peel comes off easier when you smash it. Okay, then I'm already like halfway with my mincing because that's what you need to do with garlic. You have to mince it up. So it's smashed. I'm just going to keep going back and forth over it to mince it up. Can I show them how to do those, please? So garlic's actually pretty sticky, so you're probably going to have to stop once in a while and kind of get it off your knife and pull it into a pile and then mince it because you don't want big chunks of garlic either. Garlic is pretty strong. All right, so that is good. We're going to do the rest, the other two, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have the pan is on the stovetop and the oil's in it. I got a couple tablespoons of oil in there. So we're going to go ahead and add our onions, garlic, celery, and carrots to that. And we just want to cook it until the onion becomes translucent or kind of see-through. Okay, so we have that stuff in the pot and we have some chicken thighs over here that I actually boiled the other day. So we had some extras and I knew that was going to happen. So what we're going to do with these is we are going to shred the chicken off of there. We're going to make sure we get the extra fat off so that it can be leaner. The skin is off of these and most of the fat. So we're just going to shred them like I said, and you want to make sure that they're bite-sized pieces because people are going to be eating this with a spoon. So you have to be, the other thing that you could use instead of chicken thighs, if you don't have that, is chicken breasts, which are actually better for you. But this is what we have. And one of the things that I want you guys to realize is that you can use what's already in your house. You shouldn't have to go out and buy more stuff just to make something for this class. Okay, so there's always options. And if you don't exactly have something that's super healthy, but you have something that would work as a protein, then go ahead and use that. And then you could say, how would you make it healthier? All right, so we're just gonna start pulling the chicken off. And you can always go back later and get rid of any of the stuff that you don't want and peel off the extra fat and stuff like that. And you can also go back and make the pieces smaller. You can use a knife for that. You could use your fingers. If we were in a kitchen where we were sharing with people that were not part of our family, obviously you'd be wearing gloves like if you were at a restaurant making food. But this is just for my family, so we are going to use our fingers. I'm just taking off extra fat that I missed the other day off mine. Jimmy's probably not because he likes fat.
There's no fat.
So this is all about working with what you have. Like I said, don't go out and buy brand new stuff just to make something for the class. Look at what's in your pantry. Remember that your protein doesn't necessarily have to be a meat. It could be beans. So think about if you don't have any meat at home, you could think about making a vegetarian chili with just different types of beans, kidney beans, black beans. Okay, so the onions are about ready. And we're gonna just add some more of our ingredients in. We have our chicken, we need to add our broth in. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the herbs that we're using. So one of them is rosemary, the other one is thyme. So the recipe actually calls for fresh rosemary and thyme, but this is what we have at home. And this is part of what I'm teaching you guys, to use what you have at home. So it calls for a teaspoon of fresh rosemary, a teaspoon of fresh thyme. So we're going to use, remember what the conversion is, it's 1 tablespoon of fresh is 1 teaspoon of dried. So we need about a third of what they asked for. So we'll need about a third of a teaspoon. I don't have that measuring spoon. We're just going to use a half of a teaspoon because it's easier. So I'm actually going to kind of chop the rosemary leaves up because I don't know if you guys can see them. I don't want to eat that in my soup like that, but I wouldn't mind if it was kind of chopped up with a knife. So I'm going to do that with the rosemary. We have ground thyme, so I can just leave it as is. All right, so Jimmy's adding 6. Okay, so Jimmy actually was wondering because that seemed like it had already been opened before, but depending on the type of chicken broth or broth containers that you get, sometimes when you twist the cap off, it just automatically breaks the seal inside of it, and that's what happens with those. So he's adding 6 cups of chicken broth. So that's going to be just a regular box of it, which is 32 ounces plus half of another box. And then we're going to let that get kind of hot in there, and we're going to add our chicken. The original recipe told us to add ginger and turmeric. I do have ginger, but I don't really like the way it tastes in chicken soup, and so we're not going to be adding that. And I actually don't have turmeric, so we are not adding that, and it's fine. You can just add what you have at home, like I said. And if there's a spice or an herb that you like that you want to add, you can, like oregano, basil. Those would probably also be good in the chicken soup. I've added those before. So feel free to play with your herbs and spices. If there's one that you're not sure of, you might want to look it up before you add it into your soup, or try a little bit. Try a little bit before you add it to make sure that you actually like it. Okay, so we added our chicken in there, and our seasonings. We have our rosemary and thyme in there. Add a little bit of salt. We're going to be adding some pepper to it, but that stuff's kind of like to taste. You could always wait until people get their own bowls and add it themselves. The last thing that there is to add once our mixture comes to a boil on the stovetop is whatever kind of pasta or noodles you want to use. So typically I would say use a whole grain. If it was just me eating this, I actually do like this. It's called farro. This is a whole grain. It's a little bit harder than, it's kind of like a cross between rice and barley. I don't know if you guys know what barley is, but it's actually really good. It takes kind of a long time to cook though. So before you add something like this, you need to check to see how long it will take, because that's how long you're going to have to let it keep going and boiling in there. So what we're actually going to add are the little balls of pasta. So this is acene de pep, but my family calls it pastina. They're just little round balls of pasta, like I said. So these take 9 minutes, it says on here. So once that starts boiling, we'll add our pastina. You need a cup, and no more than a cup, because you don't want, unless you like pasta a lot, then you can add more. Another thing you could add is brown rice, if you have that, or regular white rice. You don't want a big pasta in this. Elbow macaroni would work. If you have egg noodles, those would work. So the healthier option would be to use this because it's a whole grain. But I understand if you want to use this. So what you might want to do is, if you're using something like a white flour-based pasta, in another meal, just make sure you have your whole grains. That's going to add fiber, which your body needs, and it helps prevent heart disease later in life. Okay, so I will be posting this recipe for you guys. I will note the changes that I made from the original. And remember that when you guys make your own for the lab, you want to try to use healthy options where you can. So good luck, and I will talk to you guys soon.